event devoted to the kickoff of the capacity building initiative for transparency global support program for the Central Asian and Caucasian countries, for Central Asia and the Caucasus. Allow me to briefly introduce myself. My name is Naila Timirkanova. I am the coordinator of the regional network. And these of you who know me, I've worked in Tajikistan and Kazakhstan in the past. I'm currently working remotely from Moscow. So I will be really glad to meet up with you, either online or offline. I'm really glad that our project is restarting, and the work of the transparency network is restarting as well. I'm really glad to start working with you. This is a great opportunity to join our country efforts responding to and somewhat complicated requirements with respect to climate reporting. We already have 31 participants, so it's high time for us to start, I guess. Allow me to pass the floor for the welcoming word to the director of the Copenhagen Climate Center, Mr. John Christensen. Over to you, Mr. Christensen.
I don't have translation, but I guess that was my keyword, wasn't it? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. So anyway, my name is John Christensen. I'm the director of the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center that coordinates and organizes this workshop and also the whole CBIT-GSP, as we'll come back to. Just a couple of quick introductory remarks here to kick off the meeting. I'm not going to be able to stay with you, but I'm happy to just have a chance to connect and see who's on and understand the process that's running. I mean, in general terms, I mean, for me, transparency is really about the credibility of the Paris Agreement. I mean, it's really fundamental for the success of the whole exercise. And I think with the first PTRs or transparency reports due in 24, I mean, there is a need really to accelerate the action on accounting and reporting. And that's, of course, what these sub-regional networks are trying to facilitate also. And with the agreement in Glasgow on modalities and procedures, I mean, the guidance on what needs to be done is quite clear. I mean, there's still a lot of interpretation and understanding, of course, but basically the road has been cleared and we know where we're going. Yeah, I mean, the other side of it is, of course, also that I think transparency can hopefully also be able to facilitate high ambition and be the foundation for the next round of NDCs in 25. Because one of the other things I do is help coordinate the emissions gap report for UNEP every year, and it's very clear from, yeah, also from last year, but from every year that there is still a big gap between the ambitions in the NDC and what science tells us is required if we want to stay on track to 1.5 or even 2 degrees. There's still a long way to go, and transparency and documentation of impacts is really crucial for discussion of future ambition also. Yeah, I mean, then we have all the new elements that have come up also in Glasgow with Article 6, which again will depend very much on transparency to be successful, because unless you can document what is actually happening on transactions and credits, the whole mechanism is not going to be successful. And then, of course, with the last decisions in Sharm el-Sheikh on loss and damage, there's a whole new set of issues that have been added both on future accounting and reporting related to the adaptation side also. Yeah, I mean, you all know the global stock take is on, and I think it's, I can't remember if we passed the first deadline or if it's today actually, but there's sort of submission possibilities first for the political process and then more for the technical inputting in March. So if there are issues coming out of your work at home, it's a really good time to communicate it into the stock take process. Moving on to what we are on, I mean, UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center with earlier different names as the UNEP DTU partnership and so forth, has been actively engaged on building capacity and strengthening institutional structures and so on. We started actually on transparency even before Paris, and we didn't dare to use the name transparency because we thought it might be political. But since the agreement ended up with a very strong text on transparency, I mean, we sort of immediately changed the name of what we were planning to do. And we have been, I think, quite sort of foundational both in the work on establishing the CBIT program with Jeff and this other program called the Initiative for Climate Action Transparency, ICAT, that we've been working with since Paris. So we're very happy that we have been chosen by Jeff and by UNIP to manage the CBIT GSP support program. And here, I mean, actually kicking off the first series of workshops for all the now 11 sub-regional networks that we see really as a very crucial element in the efforts to support countries build the data collection, institutional structures, and so on, and to provide the transparency on national efforts that are necessary both for domestic purposes, but also to be able to report in a credible way to the convention. So I don't want to take more of your time. I just hope that you're going to have a really productive workshop here for Central Asia and the Caucasus, and maybe also just make you aware that you are the first of a number of workshops. So it's really good if you also can sort of tell us about your experience from the workshop so we can make use of that in the ones to come also. So maybe a little bit of a guinea pig, but I think it will always be the most productive one are usually the ones where you learn in the process also. So I hope you're going to have a really good meeting, and I'll follow it a little bit, but I'll have to check out relatively soon, but thanks. I don't know if this was too long for translation, but hope not.
Спасибо большое, Джон, за
Thank you
добрый
very
привет.
much, John, for your kind words and setting the stage. We're really glad to see that Copenhagen Center has been actively engaged in transparency and is willing and ready to build the capacity of Central and Caucasian countries with respect to the most recent climate reporting requirements. Thank you very much. And now allow me to give the floor to Ms. Mira Minestrosi, who is the UNEP liaison. Over to you, Miriam.
Miriam?
Miriam, can you hear us? I guess Miriam is facing some technical issues. Let us give her a couple of minutes to tackle them. As per the agenda, we have some designated time for a group photo. So I would like to all the participants to turn your cameras on, smile, and wave into the camera. This is the only way we can do it now. So once again, dear participants, please turn your cameras on. Keep your smile on your face for a couple of seconds so I can make a nice group photo. Give me 1 second, please. Let me check if all the cameras are on. You don't know how glad I am to see all of you, all your faces. Please be patient. Give me another second or two for another shot. And one more just in case. Please smile and freeze it. And you know, there are so many of us that I have to take pictures of several screens because you don't fit on one, all of you don't fit on one and the same screen. So okay, now we can continue. Thank you very much for your patience. Once again, these of you who are comfortable working without your cameras on, you can turn them off. Also, to save the broadband channel, you can turn them off as well and leave only the audio channel on. Suzanne, is Miriam with us? Will she be saying a welcoming word, or should we continue?
Continue.
She's experiencing some technical challenges, so yeah, let us just continue.
Хорошо, тогда мы продолжаем.
Okay, then let's continue. And it is my pleasure to pass the floor over to Ms. Fatima Zakra Taibi, who is our CBIT JSP Global Coordinator. She will briefly introduce the project, our aims and objectives. So, dear Fatima.
Thank you very much, Naila. Can you see my screen in a full mode? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much, Naila, for the introduction, and thank you, colleagues, for joining us for this kickoff meeting of the regional network for Central Asia and the Caucasus. It's very nice to see so many familiar faces or familiar names, but also some new ones, to see so many countries joining us, but also a lot of our partners in the region who are also providing support for transparency in the region. So it's my pleasure to be here with you, and I will just try to walk you very quickly through the project and what we are trying to achieve through it. So this project is called Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, the Global Support Program. So this is a project that was actually emerging and the continuation of two previous projects. The first one is the CBIT platform that was operational for many years and is still operational, actually. And then the Global Support Program that many of you are familiar with. So these two programs or two projects have been merged and continue to a next phase and formed this new project, CBIT Global Support Program. So the main aim of this project is to support the transition to the BTR and help countries with their efforts in the enhanced transparency framework. So, and that's through helping with this transition efforts, but also assisting countries submit the last BURs so that they are able to get funding and start with the BTRs. And also we are aiming to provide a one-stop shop for transparency where we can help countries find matchmake with different support initiatives and build partnerships so that the efforts are synergized and also amplified, because the needs are huge, as you will see from the needs assessments that we have conducted. Another element that we are also trying to achieve is mainstreaming gender considerations into the national or transparency reporting of countries. So this project is basically funded by GEF, implemented by UNEP, and executed by the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. It started in April 2022 and will run until 2025, and with an approximate budget of 9 million USD. So this project has basically three components. The first one is the CBIT GSP integrated platform. So this is basically the integration of the CBIT platform, the old CBIT platform, and the Global Support Program website into one platform, but also adding much more functionalities and also making it useful or for all countries and all developing countries, of course, and all support organizations, so that everyone can find the information on transparency in one place. So this platform aims to provide the most up-to-date place to find all information about all what relates to transparency, and provide a one-stop shop where countries can express their needs for support and partners to offer their support, and also provide a platform for peer-to-peer exchange on climate transparency issues driven by the transparency networks under the project. So both the current CBIT coordination platform and the integrate and the GSP will be the legacy of these two websites will be integrated into the new platform. So no information will be lost, but everything will still be there, especially when it relates to projects and so on. And so where we are now with this integrated platform, we have finalized the design phase. Design and development phase has started, and we are planning to launch the platform during the SBs in Bonn, hopefully. And there we will do a bigger inception meeting for all networks, so that everyone can get to meet and exchange as well. So some of the main features of this platform that I wanted to mention is this network exchange forum that is very relevant for the networks. So the idea is to have here to create communities of practices where experts in the various areas of transparency from countries, but also from support organizations, can exchange on different topics or try to find solutions to some problems or share experiences in the various topics of transparency. The other feature is the country pages. So all countries will have dedicated pages where we will have all information about the climate change related documents and reports of the country, ongoing projects, and also self-assessment when it comes to capacities on transparency and the various reports that they have. So all relevant information can be found in one place. We will have also a page for ongoing projects by countries, including projects, of course, from not only from the GEF projects, but also projects from other support providers that would like to participate in the initiative. And last but not least, we have a feature that's support page. So here, the idea is to have the matchmaking, where we can have a matchmaking exercise between the support needs and support requesters and the support providers. So we will try to do extent possible to provide support from the projects, but we are aware that it might not be possible in all cases, and other organizations might be able to work on some of these areas, and there we will try to do a matchmaking exercise so that the support requests are responded to in an appropriate manner. So the other component also that we have is gender. So as I mentioned before, so this is one of the areas that are quite new for the project, and we will try to to intensify efforts in. So we will be updating the gender toolkit that was developed under the CBIT under the GSP, the Global Support Program, in the previous years, and we will be providing trainings on this gender toolkit, and we will also be providing assistance to countries in integrating the UNFCCC Gender Action Plan into their enhanced transparency framework reports. So that's basically the idea, and I think in the Eurasia and Central Asia and the Caucasus, sorry, there is a lot of experience that can be shared here, and for which we are planning that other networks also can exchange in and learn from this experience. So we are looking forward to launching this work soon. The last component, and I think one of the important ones, is really to provide the technical assistance and capacity building in the main areas of transparency. And here we are going to be building on the experience and lessons learned from the previous projects, and with the aim of, as I mentioned before, really accelerating the submissions of the last BURs, supporting the transition to the BTRs, supporting sustainable institutional arrangements, because that's the backbone for transparency at the country level. Also identifying and disseminating best practices, and importantly, fostering also regional and South-South exchanges. And some of the main mediums that we will be using to provide this support is continuing with the idea of, or the concepts of, the networks that were developed under the Global Support Program. So these networks were streamlined and revived, and now we have 10 networks that are operational, and so among which this one that we are kicking off today, which is the Central Asia and the Caucasus. And in all these networks, we will be doing capacity need assessments and providing support to countries, either through direct support to the priority needs identified, or through workshops and in-country activities. But we are also going to provide quality review of the transparency reports in order to enhance the quality of reporting to the UNFCCC. So here, just to show you the networks that we have in the project. So we have a Spanish-speaking Latin America, Anglophone Caribbean, Lusophone cluster, the MENA network, Francophone network, Anglophone Africa network, Eurasia, Central Asia and the Caucasus, Asia, and the Pacific. So among these networks, we are trying to identify also some opportunities for exchange, so that work is not only concentrated inwards in the networks, but we are also looking globally to identify good practices that can be shared, and countries that are maybe more advanced in one area that can help other countries, so that we have that peer learning and mutual learning between networks and countries. So here, for each of the networks, we have initiated the capacity need assessment, from which we have identified priority areas for support and drafted work plans that are to be discussed with countries, either through the kickoff meetings. So we are looking forward to good discussions with you to give us your feedback on the areas that we have identified, but also what we need to know is that the work plans are open, like they would be drafts even after this meeting, so that we can adapt to the needs from countries as they arise, and to new circumstances as they arise. And based on this, we provide support to countries. So here, as I mentioned, one of the main activities that we do is providing quality review of transparency reports. So the aim throughout the projects is to provide provide 45 reviews of either BORs, NCs, national inventories, or BTRs. But this number, from what we understand from the various implementing agencies, need to be revamped. So because countries are now hustling to
Fatima, could you
submit
please slow down a little bit?
Okay, yeah, sorry. So countries are now trying to submit their last BOR. So we are expecting many submissions this year, and also with the first BTRs in 2024, and maybe even in 2025, where there will be quite a big influx of need in here. So we are trying to increase our capacity to provide more support in this area. Until now, we have done 13 reviews for the countries that you see here. And if any of you is interested in having their transparency documents, transparency reports reviewed, please feel free to get in touch with us, or also we can get requests through the implementing JEF implementing agencies, whether it's UNEP, UNDP, Conservancy International, or FAO, or any other implementing agencies. So we are happy to assist with that. Then some of the main components are the workshops and the trainings. As I mentioned, the main themes and workshops and trainings, webinars that we will be undertaking will be defined through the capacity need assessment and will be in the work plan. But also, as I mentioned, we are also trying to be adaptable and respond to the requests as they arise. So as you can see in the screen, we have already last year engaged in a number of trainings and workshops in collaboration with our partners, such as ICAT, UNFCCC, PATPA, UNDP, FAO, and so on. So we are looking forward to continuing the collaboration and to responding to the needs of the countries according to the priorities identified. Also, one of the main medium of support that we provide is the direct support to the countries. So support that is tailored based on the needs that they have identified and prioritized. As you will see in the work plan, we have already identified a few areas of support based on the survey, but also based on discussions with the countries. And we will continue to have these discussions to further refine the work plans, but also adapt as needed. So the areas of support could include various areas of transparency. However, it's not like we cannot provide support to do a full BTR, for instance, because that's the scope maybe of JEF, where countries can request support funding for the BTR, but some kind of specific areas and well-defined areas where countries need support that we are able to do in discussion with the country. And here, as just to mention that this direct support can be provided through what has been identified already in the work plan, but also through the help function that I mentioned we have in the CBIT platform. Currently in the transitional one, we will have a support request, but also in the new platform that will be launched in the SBs, but also through communication with us, with the GSP team and the network coordinator. So we have been also busy trying to advertise a little bit for the project and make it known. So we have participated in many events organized by other partners, but we have also participated in the SBs, and we had numerous events during COP27. So here, last but not least, I wanted to introduce the CBIT GSP team. So we have a team here in Copenhagen that we are trying also to consolidate and have more people to join us so that we are able to provide the support needed. And we have the network coordinators in the various networks, transparency networks in the regions that you can see in the screen. And here it's Nailia for Central Asia and the Caucasus. I would like also to introduce my colleague Suzanne, who is working full-time for the project, and you will be in contact with her. So I think it would be nice to get to know her. Suzanne, if you could please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Fatima Sarah. Thank you, Naya. And thank you, everyone, for being here. It's such a pleasure to seeing so many of you for this, the first kickoff meeting of the regional networks that we are having today. And thank you also to Nadia to facilitate all of this. As Fatima Zahra said, I'm a project officer here at the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center, working full-time on the CBIT-GSP project, and really looking forward to the work ahead in the network, in the global project as well. And I'm sure we will be in touch. You can always reach out to us or to your network coordinator through Nadia, and I'm sure you will be hearing much more of us through other projects. And for now, I'm just really looking forward to this meeting and to all the work ahead. Really pleasure to meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. And back to you, Nailia. I'm happy to get to respond to any questions that you have, or maybe any comments that you might have. Thank you.
Спасибо большое, Фатима Захра, за
Thank
очень
you, Fatima Zakra, for your very informative and purposeful presentation. I'm sure it allowed the participants to learn more about the project, about the activities that are planned. I'm sure that our events on building the capacity on transparency in all the target countries will be as effective as successful. Dear participants, do you have any questions to Fatima Zakra? Maybe you need some clarification with respect to this or that item or aspect that Fatima Zakra has mentioned in your presentation. The only inquiry that I see here is from IGS. Susanna has already responded to that. Maybe you can tell us more about the platform or you want to launch it for our colleagues to understand better what it is and when the launch platform will happen.
And maybe just to mention that once the platform is ready and launched during the SBs, hopefully we will have follow-up webinars where we will be familiarizing all the networks of the new functionalities and how they can use the platform and make the best use of it, basically. So thank you.
Спасибо большое, но мы еще
проинформируем наших участников региональной сети. In either case, we will notify the members of the regional network about the additional news and updates on the platform. We still have some time for questions, if there are any. Michael Vartanyan, over to you. Thank you, Neda. My question is about the data management software, which we use to ensure transparency. Yes, we do render consultations with respect to transparency, and they're quite effective. They're quite in demand. But when it comes to software that the countries need for their reporting, UNDP, UNEP, GEF don't work with that. They say that they cannot support such activities or finance such efforts. So once again, do you have any plans to work with on data management tools or in software? Maybe providing access to some inventory of potential tools or available tools, or maybe assist countries in purchasing and operating such software. This is one of the gaps. This is one of the uncovered needs on behalf of countries, which leads, in my personal and professional opinion, leads to the lack of understanding, because the specialists working inside countries lack knowledge on what tools they can use and how to use them.
Yeah, sorry, Michael, the translation, the voice was cut in the translation, so I'm not sure I got.
I can repeat in English if you want.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes. My question was about the data management tools and software for transparency arrangements and data management arrangements in developing countries. As you probably know, Fatima Zara, it's like I'm working on consultancy and software for transparency, and whereas consultancy is something that the JEF projects and you guys kind of fund and support. With software and data management tools, there is certain kind of hiccup, like no support programs really work with that, or can kind of promote tools to countries. There seems to be like a one big kind of elephant in the room of IPCC software, and then probably not much more than that. And we've been finding it difficult to, like, from one perspective, difficult to kind of penetrate this market, if you want, because developing countries don't have support for implementing software. And from the other perspective, this situation definitely makes data management and software related arrangements in developing countries much less mature than they need to be. So my question was, if you are planning to support data management tools and software, and if your platform would be able to maintain some sort of a roster of available tools and support their implementation for countries that require them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael, for the question. Yeah, I mean, the short answer is unfortunately not. So in terms of assisting countries acquire the management tools, the data management tools, it was not a part of like the supports that was planned within the project. I do not know whether actually within the CBIT, national CBIT projects, I think there might be a possibility. I think we have here some colleagues that work on national CBIT or enabling activities. I don't know, maybe Eva or Suzanne or some other colleagues who work on that. Maybe they can help. However, in terms of maybe maintaining a database of the tools that are available, that we should be able to do if that is something that countries are interested in and would like to have like a depository where to find these tools and what they can do and how to get them. That's definitely a possibility. So I think, I don't know whether any of the colleagues would like to come in from the national CBIT or enabling activities. It seems not, so I then probably it's not something that's also provided there, but we can confirm that later bilaterally. What we know is that some of the help desk requests, at least from the Francophone networks, many countries were actually asking for some management tools, some modeling tools, and also like computers and like some hardware. So this is something that we are aware that countries needs, but for instance, that goes a little bit beyond the scope of the project, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Да, спасибо большое, Фатима Захра. У нас
Yes, once again, thank you, Fatima. We have two raised hands, Esther and then David. Esther?
Yes, good morning and good afternoon, colleagues. Just quickly react to Fatima's request on providing inputs on the enabling activity and CBIT national projects. I'm also supporting this project in UNDP, and I would just like to confirm that this project actually supporting data management systems, including softwares and so on. Mostly the CBIT project. The enabling activities are mostly working on the preparation of the documents, the national communications, VNADET reports, and BTRs. But in the national CBIT project, they mostly have a focus on actually supporting the establishment of such system, including IT systems as well. So depending on the needs of the country, sometimes they are focusing on the change inventory system, but sometimes already on the NDC tracking system or even climate change investment adaptation. And I think in the CBIT platform, we have also started to update the project data for each national project. So I think you may also refer to those for further information. But we are also available to provide further information. Thank you so much.
Да, спасибо большое.
Yes, thank you. And we have one more question or a clarification question from David Shinjan.
Да, пожалуйста, ближе.
Okay, sorry. My question is the following. I have a question actually. At the moment, we are conducting farm survey to collect data on manure management and land management practices. Based on this data, we are going to develop country-specific emission factors, and these emission factors need to be peer-reviewed by international experts. I would like to know whether we can cooperate with this new CBIT JSP project in this regard for peer review, whether we can expect this expert support, technical support, consultant. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. This is something that we might be able to help with. So please get in touch with us and with Naila, and she will be providing you with this template for request for support, so that we have a good idea on what's the needs, and then we can discuss further how we might be able to support you on this. But this definitely is in the scope of the supports that we provide.
Thank you.
Да, спасибо большое.
Yes, thank you for this clarification, for this discussion that we had. Let's move ahead because we have two more presentations planned. Maybe some of the questions will be cleared after, as a result of these presentations, specifically the avenues, the themes on which we plan to work in 2023. Let me pull up my presentation on the main outcomes of the capacity building transparency capacity in target countries. Please tell me if you can see my presentation okay. Okay. I don't have too much time, so I will try to be as brief as possible. Just a brief review of the key findings before the seminar on Monday. I've distributed some of the materials in Russian and English. Specifically, the capacity needs assessment of transparency in the countries of Central Asia and the Caucasus, and the draft work plan for 2022. Both of these documents were in Russian and in English. So please go back to these documents for some of the specific information. For English-speaking participants, I've dropped 2 files into the chat because my presentation is going to be in Russian, but you can follow my presentation in English using the files that I've dropped into the Zoom chat box. So, what was the objective of this assessment? First of all, to identify the to investigate the transparency systems and related capacity needs of the countries of Central Asia and the Caucasus, and to understand to what extent they comply with the requirements under the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. As to the methodology, the main tool that we've utilized was the online questionnaire that covered 4 priority reporting items, including the GHG inventory, NDC tracking, adaptation and impacts, including loss and damage issues, and the 4th, support needed and received. In addition to these aspects, the questionnaire also focused on gender mainstreaming and the existing BTR support and other support provided within other international initiatives on climate actions, transparency, and partner organizations. We have also used referential check and desktop study methods, so reviewing everything what was available within the national communications, within NDC, within BURs. We have also used the findings of other assessments conducted previously by our colleagues and partners on transparency. Altogether, we have received responses from 7 countries of the region, so we can say that it was 100% feedback that we have received, that we have collected. So all 5 Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, and 2 Caucasian countries, Armenia and Azerbaijan. So we've collected all of their responses. As of today, all target countries have expressed their interest to engage in the project. All the countries have appointed project focal points and respective experts as well to participate in project activities. On this slide, you see the designated organizations, line ministries, including which have appointed the focal points. These are organizations engaged either in climate policy in respective countries, or these responsible for the UNSC reporting. We had bilateral consultations with the majority of target countries, within the framework of which the target countries have reconfirmed their interest and relevancy of the capacity building activities on transparency planned within our project, which were later included in the work plan. Overall transparency system and status of reporting based on the responses that we've received from target countries, as you can see, as per the opinion of the respondents, 50% is fair, but it doesn't mean that everything's fine and excellent. Fair means that everything is okay, but the countries need assistance to enhance their transparency systems. 38% of the respondents thought that their systems were in poor condition, requiring significant actions to enhance them, and 12% said that they have transparency systems which operate effectively but require slight improvements.
Так, на табличке это те национальные сообщения
In the
и
right-hand table, you see some of the information on the national communications and SPIs and BURs, which were either already submitted or on which the countries are still working. As you can see, Central Asian countries have already submitted their fourth national communications, as well as first BURs. But Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan are still continuing their work on the fourth national communications, which is true for Afghanistan as well. I'm sorry, for Kyrgyzstan. Armenia has already submitted 4 national communications and third BUR, and Azerbaijan has already submitted also 4 national communications and is already working on the third BUR. Kazakhstan which as the country in Annex 1, it's currently working on finalizing its 8th national communication and 5th biannual report. Implementing ETF and preparation for BTR. The majority of you
разработки двухгодичных докладов о прозрачности, то есть BTR. Что мы получили? Ответы таковы, что
information we got on that. So 50% of respondents knew about the ETF and principles and requirements, but the remaining half said that they know, so the remaining 50% split them in half, 25%, saying that are somewhat familiar and not very familiar with these principles and requirements. In the table, you see that the countries have already requested some assistance on preparing their BTRs from their supporting partners. Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Turkmenistan did not do that so far, explaining it by the fact that they're finalizing their ongoing reporting, including the BURs. The BURs, I'm sorry, BRs, and in Turkmenistan, it's the national communication and the BUR. Maybe after my presentation, you can say that no, we have more updated information. We have already requested for content, but we would like to hear that. And to your opinion, support for transparency and reporting. Let's see on this slide to see what other international partners are assisting our target countries in these activities. First of all, of course, it's GEF, the UNEP and UNDP. There are projects on NCs and BURs. Another initiative, it's quite new because it was launched just last year. It is operated by CARG, by the Central Asian Regional Environmental Center, jointly with ICAT. It is supported by ICAT, supported and financed by ICAT as well. So ICAT and CARG have established the Regional Climate Actions Transparency Hub, or RECAT, for Central Asia. All 5 Central Asian countries are participating in this initiative, which aims to build another quite well-known initiative in our region is the UNDP Climate Promise Project and the UNDP EU for Climate Project. These are the global initiatives covering our target countries. These projects have components on NDC enhancements and MRV establishment. The cross-sectoral initiatives. Then the GCF readiness projects on developing national adaptation plans.
В странах ситуация с разработкой планов
In our
различная.
countries, our countries are at different level of developing their national adaptation plans. In some of the countries, the project has already finished. In some countries, for example, in Armenia, please tell me if you have already submitted, finished your NAP. Then the GEF CBIT national projects. They were referred to several times today already. They are currently implemented in Armenia and Azerbaijan. They're ongoing in Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. These projects are operated by FAO.
Статус заявок и статус проектов. В Таджикистане продукт уже представлен в Кыргызстане проект стартовал.
These projects, for example, in Tajikistan, the PRODOC was already submitted. The project has started in Uzbekistan, and the PIF was submitted in Turkmenistan. Other partners rendering technical and consultative support, UNFCCC and GEF, and the previous global support program that focused on capacity building, mainly devoted to GHG inventories. Capacity assessment related to 4 ETF reporting areas. Allow me to apologize for the fact that the information is presented in is presented very briefly. So I urge you to consult the actual report, which has separate sections on each of the ETF reporting areas on the received and required. What's important? What's most important here? The respondents think that the institutional arrangements for GHG inventory are somewhere between satisfactory and non-satisfactory, albeit the technical capacity is on the satisfactory level. With a little note that some support is necessary on GHG inventories. On NDC tracking and adaptation and impacts, the situation is quite similar as, to NDC tracking and support needed and support received. As to adaptation impacts, the institutional arrangements are somewhere between satisfactory and good level, with the good technical capacity. As to loss and damage, practically all countries said have identified the lack of institutional capacity and setup, and they highlighted the need and loss and damage. As to support needed and support received, this is more related to climate financing tracking. As you can see, the institutional arrangements range from non-satisfactory to satisfactory, with the technical capacity requiring some significant attention. As to the key takeaways,
в памяти, если мы будем, в общем-то, смотреть на какие-то
findings or conclusions of the capacity assessment.
очевиден прогресс в понимании
First of all countries become more familiar about the transparency systems, MRV, and transition towards ETF. But they need more knowledge, more skills on applying new templates, tabular forms, while preparing their BTRs. Development of BTR is absolutely needed and was highlighted as a priority by all the countries in the regional network. As to inventory, GHG inventory, not all countries have identified it as their priority, but Tajikistan and Turkmenistan have said that
остается очень важным и главным вопросом.
Inventory calculation
Страны заявили, что да, им необходимо улучшить потенциал, но опять-таки
requirements continues to be irrelevant. As to NDC tracking, the countries have said that they need assistance with respect to NDC indicators for tracking and projections, as well as modeling, sound MRV systems for mitigation, maybe some exchange or practices which would allow them to and some respective systems in their countries. Adaptation impacts were highly prioritized by Central Asian countries, particularly with loss and damage. Specifically, methodologies, tools, and calculating GHG emissions, support needed and support received. Yes. All countries needed, but the countries have highlighted that they are all at different levels of climate finance tracking system development, as well as the countries highlighted change, because climate financing and climate finance tracking usually takes place within the framework of
оказанием поддержки в климатической отчетности. Самое интересное,
climate finance. A very interesting item, gender aspects in climate reporting were not prioritized by either of the countries. I explain, trying to explain that the respondents of the questionnaire were experts, mainly working on GHG inventories. So basically, we have received such answers because we didn't cover any specifically on gender mainstream, but as per the UNFCCC regulations on gender mainstreaming, we consider this theme an important one, and it has to be included in our work plan. This slide simply visualizes the findings, the results of the needs assessment, the orange blocks denote the priorities expressed by different countries with respect to the 4 ETF reporting areas. In addition to the 4 sections that you see in the left-hand column, some of the countries would like to get individual assistance on these additional themes. This is still a matter of discussion. As we have mentioned before, the work plan is a living document, and we will be able to adjust to correct our working plan for it to respond to your most relevant priorities and needs or interests. With respect to NCMD, this is the last slide of my presentation. This is the form that our colleague Fatima Zahra has talked about. This is the request for support and climate transparency. Using this form, you can request individual country assistance on transparency capacity building. It can be BUR, NIR, it can be national communications, or some specific climate finance reporting things. We are continuing our discussions and consultations with countries with respect to adjusting our work plan. At that, allow me to finish my presentation. Please, any comments, requests? This is your time. We have some time for a couple of questions. Marina.
Добрый день, приветствую вас. Я хотела внести точность по плану адаптации, то, что вы спрашивали. В 2021 году правительство Армении утвердило план адаптации и листмер на 2021-2025 годы. И в 2022 году ряд мер уже были разработаны. Воздействие изменений климата на водные ресурсы, туризм, энергетический сектор, здоровье, сельское хозяйство. Все эти меры уже разработаны в 2022 году. Спасибо. И еще много других прочие меры разработаны в 2022 году. Для два региона, план адаптации двух регионов Армении были разработаны.
В нашем регионе пока что является единственной страной, которая представила свой НАП в секретариат, поэтому я могу дать ссылку для тех участников, которые
пожалуйста,
опыт Армении. Вы будете послушать немного больше во время нашего вебинара по обмену опытом, где мы планируем обсуждать.
Спасибо.
Спасибо большое, Марина.
We have another
Naila,
question
sorry, just before moving on, the voice fades in the English translation channel. So if there is any way to make it better, because we cannot really hear much.
Are you in the English channel or in the main channel?
No, in the English channel.
Well, I guess you should be
Да, у
in the
нас некоторая техническая, видимо, задержка наблюдается в английском
Can you
нашем
hear me?
канале.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay now?
Да.
Yeah, it's just
So-
when it's long, then it's the voices fades, then we cannot hear.
Да, Фатима, к сожалению, у нас такая же
Unfortunately,
задержка наблюдается
Fatima,
и в
we are
русскоговорящем, то есть в
experiencing
русском
the
канале.
same
Это вот, наверное,
in the
какая-то
Russian
неточность
language
именно
channel.
использования двух языков одновременно.
Maybe it has to do with the fact that we're recording the event in both channels.
Да, ну, я надеюсь, что,
But I do hope
большинство все
the majority
все разъяснено.
of the people
Если что, можете
can
обращаться
hear us
напрямую.
okay.
Если вдруг понадобятся, да, какие-то разъяснения в двухстороннем порядке, всегда рада ответить. Так, у нас... Да, все слышно? Мгм. Так, у нас был Фуат Кумбатов.
So there was a question from Mr. Kubat. But yes, warm welcome from Azerbaijan. I took down the importance of sharing the experience with our neighboring countries, multiple events. Indeed, we need to enhance our transparency with a much more developed compared to unseasoned BTRs. Azerbaijan is a LEDs or LEDs. So we have already identified the year, and we hope to achieve zero emissions or become emissions neutral. Tentatively, it is 20s, but of course, the speed of Azerbaijan implementing much will depend on lead implementation, lead modeling, tool implementation.
И в данный момент вот вы направление все правильно сказали. Вопрос усовершенствования инвентаризации, он актуален для наших стран. Насколько я ознакомлен с практикой других соседних наших стран, мы в прошлом году ЮНИСКАП для нас очень любезно предоставил в Казахстане очень активно, кстати говоря, по усовершенствованию инвентаризации. Мы там видели практически все, что делается в соседних наших странах региона. Это в этом направлении, я думаю, должно быть продолжено в любом случае, потому что инвентаризация это все-таки основа основ всей нашей деятельности, и в то же время огромные проблемы также в митигационных акций, мероприятий, потому что используются разные модели, иногда оно не совсем соответствует уровню инвентаризации, поэтому параллельно должны этим вопросом тоже заниматься. Вопрос НАФа тоже актуален для Азербайджана. У нас тоже, как вы знаете, проблемы с обеспечением воды, особенно в контексте того, что каждым годом усиливается вот этот вот недостаток воды в Азербайджане. И этот НАФ направление имеет водную культуру и сельское хозяйство, также береговая зона развития Каспии, связана с Каспией. Эти три направления в Азербайджане включены, и в этом направлении тоже работа ведется. Поэтому, насчет трекинг NDC, оно тоже, безусловно, является основной на своем направлении, на всей этой CBIT проектов и всех других проектов, связанных с этими. Во всех этих направлениях Азербайджан готов участвовать, и мы тоже написали как приоритетно. Это усиление инвентаризации, это тоже NDC-трекинг вопросы, но в нашем NDC, к сожалению, пока нет вопросов, связанных с адаптацией, но новый вариант NDC, наверное, будем предоставлять в этом году. Не исключено, что там добавится вопрос, связанный с адаптационным вопросом для Азербайджана. То, что я говорил, оно действительно очень актуально. Спасибо за внимание.
Да, спасибо большое, доктор Фуат. Ну, на самом деле, то, что вы сказали, что Азербайджан и пользуются, и есть навыки использования модели ЛИАП, это тоже для наших стран очень важно. И, насколько я знаю, вы также даже секторную систему МРВ для нефтяной компании «Сокар» подготовили. Мне кажется, это тоже будет очень интересно. Это будет очень интересно для наших стран, да, то есть перенять опыт и изучить ваши уроки. Где-то, может быть, вы подскажете что-то делать, а что-то не делать, да, потому что вы уже прошли через этот путь. Поэтому у нас также и на Азербайджан очень большие планы в плане обмена опытом. Что спасибо вам большое еще раз за то, что вы напомнили и немножко рассказали о том, где вы можете оказать поддержку и какие области нуждаются в поддержке со стороны проекта. Спасибо большое. И у нас был вопрос, если я не ошибаюсь, от Светланы Долгих из Казгидромет. Светлана, вы на связи? Потому что я как-то вас потеряла. Не видно. Пока, видимо, у Светланы какие-то технические трудности. Может быть, если Гульмира, если вы на связи, Гульмира Зергазина с UNDP, могли бы коротко рассказать о гендерном плане действий, да, который был подготовлен в Казахстане. Я просто, раз мы уже пошли говорить, кто в регионе первый в чем-то, мне бы хотелось отметить Казахстан, который одна из первых стран в регионе назначила своего гендерного координатора в рамочной конвенции ООН по изменению климата. Отрадно видеть, я поздравляю вас. И, Гульмир, немножко расскажите, пожалуйста, о вот этом гендерном плане, который вы разработали в стране.
Добрый день всем участникам, добрый день, Найля. Спасибо большое за предоставленную возможность поделиться тем опытом, который страновой офис по ООН в Казахстане совместно с Министерством экологии и природных ресурсов в ходе реализации проекта по подготовке 8-го национального сообщения и двухгодичных докладов очень плотно работал по продвижению вопросов гендерных аспектов и изменений климата. В 2020 году мы в Министерстве экологии, сейчас уже так называется экология и природных ресурсов, мы предоставили план мероприятий по продвижению гендерных аспектов изменения климата, основываясь на плане Gender Action Plan, мы его, все мероприятия, да, все вот эти направления были адаптированы и составлен национальный план по гендеру, по продвижению гендера. И представили его в Департамент климатической политики и зеленых технологий для дальнейшего рассмотрения, который до сих пор как бы находится в департаменте, и надеюсь, что они его возьмут на вооружение и будут рассматривать возможность, как его принять на страновом уровне и его уже дальше имплементировать. Ну и второй наш успех – это то, что в лице директора департамента Айнура Кубаевой был назначен гендерный focal point, и ее контакты, ее данные, они вот находятся на сайте ООН на платформе гендером. И более того, мы хотим сказать, что Казахстан уже выпустил 8-е национальное сообщение и 5-й двухгодичный доклад, да, но по техническим причинам они буквально вчера-позавчера появились на сайте РКО. И в 8-м национальном сообщении мы также приложили анализ, статистический анализ, да, вот в главу «Национальные условия» и в раздел по оценке и уязвимости мы максимально постарались включить вопросы, которые касаются гендерного равенства и вот статистическую гендерную информацию. Ну вот кратко, да, кратко вот такая новость.
Спасибо большое, Гульмира. Я думаю, что мы в любом случае еще обратимся к Казахстану, чтобы поделился опытом, как это все продвигалось, насколько это было сложно, что необходимо было учесть, да, для того, чтобы процесс пошел более гладко. Поэтому спасибо вам большое за то, что поделились опытом. И здесь я вижу сообщение в чате, которое немножко говорит о том, что жаль, что Казахстан не отметил потребность в улучшении потенциала по оценке потерь и ущерба. Можно ли бы все-таки включить этот пункт? Да, конечно, можно. То есть, как я уже говорила, рабочий план – это живой документ, но с тем, чтобы вы понимали, вполне возможно провести активность по этому направлению уже в следующем году для всех стран. Потому что в этом году, учитывая то, что и методику мало, и каких-то инструментов пока мало, которые бы учитывали и последние решения РКИКОН, и последние требования к отчетности. То есть необходимо время, чтобы немножко как бы стало яснее и понятно с теми методиками, инструментами, которые в наших странах применялись относительно расчета потерь и ущерба.
Nalia, sorry for
Да, Артем.
interrupting you, but we have some technical troubles with simultaneous interpretation. I can barely hear Sergey speaking, and some of the participants also say that there is very poor sound. I already sent a message to Sergey. Сергей, ты не мог бы, пожалуйста, гарнитуру другую взять или микрофон? Тебя очень плохо слышно. Как-нибудь можешь заменить устройство какое-нибудь? Может, резко шумов, вот это вот помехи. Бывает такое, что работает функция обрезать шумы. Может быть, ее отключишь? Посмотри там в настройках.
My system, the system that I'm using is the same one that I've used before, and this is the first time that, let me try.
Вот сейчас лучше слышно. Да, Сергей, сейчас лучше слышно. Извините, пожалуйста. Sorry for interrupting.
I've changed nothing.
Спасибо, нет, наоборот, хорошо, что вы это сказали. Спасибо большое. У нас... Да. Так,
Да, слышно.
давайте послушаем русскоязычный канал. Как у нас? Все хорошо? Да, пожалуйста, да, в чате, возможно, поставьте плюсики те, кто хорошо слышит переводчика сейчас.
And the English language channel, could you please, the English speakers of the English language participants of the event, could you please?
Слышимость перевода для англоговорящих участников.
Could you please confirm that you can hear the interpreter okay?
Так, тест.
Because there's...
Лучше слышно перевод.
Fatima, can you hear the interpreter well?
Now, yes. Yeah.
Хорошо, тогда
Is the one spoke that now was the interpreter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, then I can hear you
I'm
well.
really sorry about that, but I really don't know what the reason is, because I'm using the same system and I've rechecked and reloaded. Please tell me if you face whatever technical issues or the sound is poor, because I cannot see it on my screen. We have a raised hand from Izetta of FAO. Yes, thank you very much, Naila. With respect to loss and damage assessment, FAO has designed a special methodology and a toolkit specifically on loss and damage assessment, because was one of the hot potato topics at COP27, the national CBIT projects already implemented in Tajikistan. We have included a special component on that, on the loss and damage. Our colleague from Azerbaijan has said that adaptation is not included in the NDC, but adaptation is key for this region, especially for agriculture, with the climate impacts, with that the region is facing, is extremely important. And if this is not stated in NDCs and in, for example, national communications, it will be really hard for countries to support the corresponding financing and support. It will be on a very low level. And I'm not talking about I'm not saying that these are countries which are purely agrarian, but agriculture plays an extremely important role in their economies. So once again, FAO is actively working on loss and damage methodology and assessment. Yes, thank you very much, Iveta, for your comment. We will closely work with FAO on this aspect. Dear colleagues, we have not very much time left, and we still have one more presentation. If you allow me, I will start with my presentation on the work plan. My previous presentation laid the foundation for this one. If you still have whatever questions, please write them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer them.
Я надеюсь, видно.
Can you see my presentation? So the project work plan for 2023 global, regional, and national activities on capacity building for transparency
Sorry, Naila,
for Central
you
Asia
need
and the Caucasus.
to open the presentation.
Okay.
We see only Explorer.
Все понятно. Сейчас, одну секунду.
Thank you.
Давайте я...
Give me a second.
Так, подождите, мне кажется, потому что презентация. Одну секунду. Да, какие-то...
Fatima, while Naila is pulling up her presentation, if you change from the English channel to the main channel, maybe your sound will be better. The sound level, I mean. Could you try that?
Yeah, I mean, the sound is better in the main channel. However, I don't speak Russian. I think there's some colleagues here as well. So that's why we have to use the English channel, some of us.
Yes, okay. So, I'm just... Да, у меня тоже какие-то вот моменты, которые требуют...
Apologies.
Презентации, но пока не получается почему-то. Так, можно я попрошу Артема, если получится, скинуть презентацию, может, у вас получится открыть, потому что я ее почему-то не вижу.
Презентация не выводится.
Да, не выводится. Можно я вам в чат кину?
Да, хорошо, давайте. Я попробую
Да.
запустить.
Naila,
Да.
if you have trouble, do you need us to share for you?
Yes, I asked Artem to open it maybe on screen.
Okay.
Да. И напоминаю, что для
So, as a reminder, the presentation is available in both languages, Russian and English. So please follow the version that you are more comfortable with.
Так, сейчас запускаю презентацию.
Отлично. Да, все, супер. Да, спасибо большое, Артем. Итак, презентация – это представление деятельности или
So once again,
мероприятия
the project work plan for 2023,
на оценки
based
оценки
on
потенциала в области
the
capacities. Следующий слайд, пожалуйста.
transparency capacity assessment.
Артем, следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Ага. Итак, подход к разработке рабочего плана. Коллеги,
Approach to developing the AWP 2023
оценки, которые мы
while
получили
developing
в ходе,
the work plan,
по сути, самой оценки потенциала о результатах,
or the
которые
development of the work plan, is
план
based
программы
on the key findings and priorities determined in the rapid assessment for transparency that I've already talked about. Secondly,
двусторонних
we
которые уже прошли с некоторыми
have
странами.
based the document on the outcomes of the bilateral online meetings with country representatives, as well as online meetings with international transparency partners. Per se, it was the preliminary exchange of ideas and information on what is taking place currently with respect to transparency projects and initiatives in our target region. Then we have conducted the desktop study, reviewing the ongoing and currently available NCs, PURs, NDCs to understand
специфическом контексте или темы.
what potential assistance the countries might need. Allow me to draw your attention once again to the fact that Work Plan is a living document with the possibility to merge the events with other networks within the framework of the CBIT-GSP and synchronize them with activities by other partners. So once again, the document is very flexible. We will see how to best adapt and implement the activities. All dates for the events are tentative and depend on the resources. The work plan envisages only those activities which are planned for 2023.
Если в оценке идет речь о приоритетах в потребности по нескольким
responses within the survey, within the questionnaire,
которые мы можем выполнить или планируем выполнить только в этом году.
Certain priorities and interests were identified. Only one such event can be implemented during this year. Additional activities might be added based on ad hoc requests from target countries. Only this way So once again, such additional activities, there is a possibility to include such additional activities into the work plan, but via special mechanism, there is a possibility to use Russian or English-Russian language mode of communication and delivery of trainings in order for all the participants to be on the same page and understand each other.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста.
Next slide, please. On this slide, you see the proposed regional and global activities. I apologize for the small font, but nonetheless. Virtual webinar on COP26 guidance and DTF, as well as requirements for BTR. We plan to conduct this webinar jointly with our international development partners in order to refresh our knowledge on the most recent reporting requirements approved at the most recent UNFCCC meetings, institutional arrangements for transparency systems, best practices and lessons learned from network countries. This webinar will allow our target countries to share their practices, how they've established these mechanisms, how they're operating, how how and what duties they delegate to what specialists in the organizations, how all these lead to the regular process of climate reporting. Third line, impacts and adaptation. We would like to meet together with target countries to talk about the ongoing NAP processes, what progress they've made with respect to indicators, I mean, adaptation monitoring indicators, or with respect to assessing climate risks. I'm sure all the countries will have something to share, and it will be a great opportunity to see what advantages and disadvantages different countries have. Line 4, mainstreaming gender into climate reporting, that Gulmira has talked about today. What has been done in Kazakhstan, it would be really interesting to hear about that in a more extended manner, what has happened since 2020 until today on gender mainstream, because while reading some of the national communications from Central Asian countries, we already see some progress. Countries have been providing some statistical data, I mean, gender disaggregated statistics. Then climate financing in the context of support needed and support received. So we want to have a separate workshop on that to review the international best practices on applying tracking or monitoring systems focusing on climate financing. We also wanted to cover the theme of climate financing needs. The principles according to which, for example, Kyrgyzstan, within its most recent NDC, has identified how much the implementation of this NDC will cost. It would be interesting to see what other countries have done, how they've calculated the potential costs of their climate actions. Monitoring and evaluation for adaptation and determination of indicators for adaptation tracking, including adaptation reporting. We plan to have a seminar on this topic with our partner working on reporting and transparency in the Central Asian region. We'll see whether it will become possible. CBIT-GSP annual network meeting. Some of you have already taken part in such event in 2019 in Kazakhstan. It was the first live meeting of the network in 2020. In the late 2020, the meeting took place online. We'll see. Depending on the available resources, we might be able to have it live, or we'll have to conduct it online. So this meeting we'll try to plan prior or right after a technical event. So conducting 2 events back to back to save resources. And then lines 8 and 9, they will maybe supplement each other, because we plan a technical seminar on NDC tracking. Focusing on general concepts, tools and instruments for tracking, best practices from the network, and some of the examples from the regional network. 9 and 10 is more about global context, presenting the CBIT JSP platform itself, and presenting the toolkit, the gender toolkit, and some additional events that Fatima Zakra has talked about in her presentation. As you can see, we plan to have both online and offline meetings. We do hope that all of these events will take place and we'll have enough resources for all of them. Next slide. Is devoted to some of the national level activities based on the findings of the capacity needs assessment, specifically what urgent assistance the countries need. Based on the survey responses, the national activities will be based on your requests using the form that I've showed you previously. But so far, for Armenia, we plan to have a bilateral virtual meeting on establishing online MRB systems, best international practices. Once again, this was identified in the survey. So Armenian specialists will talk to the representatives of another country, which has already established such a system, where such a system already operates. For Azerbaijan, we plan to have a seminar on gap assessment and recommendations for institutional arrangements for the ETF. So it will be conducted in the form of assessment, but we'll need to have a confirmation from the target country, from the national focal point, to fix this activity in the work plan. In Kazakhstan has told us that they really need something on JJ inventory review, specifically on fugitive emissions. So we'll work with our Kazakhstani colleagues next week on that. Kyrgyzstan has identified several priorities, but you should know that the Kyrgyzstan Climate Financing Center was identified as the national coordinator of the project, and we will need a volunteer country to share its experience with Kyrgyzstan on climate finance tracking. Tajikistan has requested some technical support, technical assistance on using the IPCC software. The same for Turkmenistan. A workshop on enhancing JJ inventory in the AFOLU sector, especially taking the account of the fact that they are currently developing the BUR and the inventory, and Uzbekistan has requested an event on determining NDC indicators for appropriate tracking. So we're currently discussing all the pertaining issues with our colleagues from Uzhydromet. We plan or hope that will be conducted in the form of a virtual webinar to allow other countries who have already established such systems to share their experiences with our Uzbek colleagues. Next slide. knowledge products and materials. So in addition to the events, to the actions on capacity building, we will pay attention to institutional arrangements, best practices, information, knowledge products. So we will share some of the practices and international experience on where the countries of the region have already progressed. So these practices and methodologies could be adapted, could be used in Central Asian, Caucasian countries. Another, thank you very much, Uzbekistan, for identifying this need. The need for producing some brief notes on the key decisions from COP27, 28, as well as CBIT-GSP in Russian. So the specialists and target countries could be informed of what is taking place on a global level, and so that they are aware of all the nuts and bolts of these global processes. Then reports on activities carried out to support the exchange of knowledge and experience in the network exchange forum, maybe planning some other strategic areas which we could cover in the following years of the project. And so also, in addition to best practices, its methodologies, presentations, tools, everything which could be used in our target countries. If possible, translated into Russian to facilitate engagement among the potential stakeholders from the countries of the region. So this is it. I hope my presentation was not too long. Its aim was to stimulate your appetite and interest to the project. Thank you for this opportunity to present our draft work plan. But I urge you to be as active as possible, to be as engaged as possible in the remaining time of the event. Let's seize this opportunity. Dr. Fuat Batov from Azerbaijan. Fuat.
Спасибо за предоставление слова еще раз. Я не отниму у вас время, и просто я хотел уточнить, что вот национальный вот
Let me clarify. So the national actions for Azerbaijan, we saw a gap assessment and recommendations for institutional arrangements for the ETF. We are currently working specifically on that within the framework of our project. Would it be possible for us to alter the action? Yes, thank you very much for your comment. Thank you for mentioning that. Any other comments, feedback, questions? Vladimir Grebnev from Kyrgyzstan. Thank you, dear colleagues. The plan looks very good, very nice, but it would be great to add the development of certain analytical documents, because conducting actions, conducting events is, of course, good, but the research and the analytical documents and the papers remain, and the countries of the region could use such reports or materials for enhancing their systems. So once again, the seminars or webinars, it's of course great, but I'm sure it is no less important to share, to distribute some analytical materials based on the outcomes of such events.
Regarding the annual work plan, there is an activity for Armenia. This is presentation of online MRV experience. This is the last year of CBIT Armenia project, so it would be beneficial for us if we could have this meeting, not in the third quarter, but maybe like the best is in the first quarter, but I understand this time constraint, maybe in the second quarter. And the second thing, maybe the experience of only one country is not sufficient, so it would be good if we could see experience of 2-3 countries. Thank you.
Да, спасибо большое, Давид. Очень
Yes, thank you very much, David, for your very relevant comment. First of all, with respect to moving the planned event for quarter 2, we'll discuss it we'll discuss it internally as to the possibility of learning from the experience of several countries. We'll see whether it will be possible and what countries these could be, maybe in Northern Macedonia. But once again, thank you very much for confirming your interest in such an event. Are there any questions, comments, feedback? Batyr Baliyev from Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan supports the proposal by Vladimir Grebnev. So, dear Turkmen colleagues, could you confirm or positively or negatively tell us if you're still here? Naila, I hope you can hear me. With poor connection today, we reiterate, we confirm our interest in the proposed action in the action plan, and also reiterate what Vladimir Grebnev has mentioned. Zufar Tokbayev from Kazakhstan. Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you very much for all the information shared and presentations that we have seen today. In relation to Kazakhstan's request, on what stage of review it is currently? So it is currently under review by experts. We can discuss this with you tomorrow or maybe the day after tomorrow bilaterally. We were busy preparing for the inception, for the kickoff event today. So starting tomorrow, we'll go back to the routine mode of operation. There is a question from Fatima Zakra.
Yeah, actually, not a question. It's just to complement some of the elements raised. So on the point raised by Vladimir regarding the analytical work and analytical documents, yeah, obviously we will have we have an element of production of knowledge products, and the idea is to try to identify what's the most relevant products, knowledge products that we can produce that would be most helpful, but also not to duplicate what other organizations are doing. So the plan is based on the need assessments that we are carrying in all networks to identify what are the main areas where countries need further guidance for the implementation of the ETF, and then also identify what other organizations are already working on, and then prioritize what knowledge products will be produced. We are also planning to have best practices briefs on the best practices identified, not only in this network, but in all networks. So it would provide kind of a good toolkit of best practices that countries could learn from and learn from each others to see what they might be able to get inspired from. Just also on the point by Armenia, we take your point. We do understand that this is something urgent. We will be trying to identify the countries that have some relevant experience that can be shared with you, and not only within this network, but also globally in all other networks that we have, so that you have a few examples that you would be able to inspire yourselves from. Yeah, so I will stop here. Thank you.
Да, спасибо большое, Фатима Захра, за...
Yes, thank you very much, Fatima Zakrov, for your feedback comment. Dear colleagues, if you have any other urgent questions, comments, or things that you wanted to share, please direct them via email, or we can have a separate call with you, with country representatives, to discuss these issues, for example, the best practices, analytical briefs, or other analytical documents. If you do not object, if we still have the representatives, the participants from Tajikistan and Uzbekistan with us, could you please confirm the items in the action plan? Maybe you would like to propose something new, some new items instead of the proposed ones. Or maybe you need some time to digest all the information shared today. In any case, it would be great to hear your comment this way or another. I mean, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Raisa Vladimirovna. Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. I thank you very much for an excellent event and for nice presentations and action plan. We have discussed it in detail. We fully support the action plan. The only question I have is with respect to bilateral meetings. Could other countries participate in these bilateral meetings in addition to the two designated countries? Because bi means two. Everything that I see on the slide is very interesting, and I'm sure would be interesting to our colleagues from other Central Asian and Caucasian countries. Yes, thank you very much, Raisa Vladimirovna, for your comment and proposal, which once again proves the interest. One comment in the chat box from Ainura Jumanalieva, who's our focal point in Kyrgyzstan. Yes, we will stay in touch. Let's touch base next week to identify the most relevant and urgent theme for Kyrgyzstan. Thank you. Any last minute comments? Because the planned time for our event is almost over. Should you have any additional questions, comments, proposals, please drop an email to us, and we will, of course, continue sharing the information with you with respect to the planned actions and possibilities and opportunities within the CBIT GSP project. Maybe Fatima Zakra would like to say some closing remarks to officially finalize the meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Naila. And it was really a pleasure to have all of you here. I'm really happy to see how interested you are, and also that the needs that have been identified and the elements of the work plans fit to a large extent with what you need in terms of support in your countries. So with this project, we are really aiming to create a community of transparency in the network, so that we are all working together towards a common goal. So we look really forward to working with you all, whether you are from the countries, and also from our partners in support organizations that we are planning to consolidate the collaboration with, so that we are able to provide as much support as possible to respond to all the needs. So with the network, the idea is really to have to be really close to you. So please do not hesitate to get in touch with us, and particularly with Nailia, who is based in the region. So feel free, whatever you need, please feel free to get in touch. And we really look forward to a very fruitful collaboration and work with you. Thank you very much, and stay tuned to hear from us more. Thank you very much. And thank you for our interpreters.
Да, спасибо всем большое за активное участие.
Yes, thank you all for your active participation in our event. Our network is renewing its activities, so I'm sure we will see each other more often than it happened in the past. Allow me to thank our global CBIT JSP coordinator, Suzanne, Tima, Sakra, and all our partners who participated in our event today. And I do hope that we will continue our communications, I mean our international partners, to identify the entry points which would respond both to their interests and our interests. I also want to thank Artem and Sergey for interpretation and technical support provided. I will send you the links to all the presentations that you've seen today, as well as to the Russian and English recordings of our today's event. I hope to do it in the next couple of days, and have a great remaining day.